You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today, the day before Thanksgiving, I want to talk about, on our Weight Loss Wednesday, of course, how to eat well on the holidays. And I was going to title the show, too, like, how to survive the holidays. But really what we're talking about is the holidays are meant to be a fun time. They're meant to be an enjoyable time. And if you've been on a program for a little while, it could even be one of your favorite cheat meals. However, that doesn't mean you need to eat everything in sight. And so one thing I want to talk about is, let's say you're on our detox or you're on our first 21 days of our elimination-based diet program, or any one of those things, or just in general, you know what? You want to eat healthy. You don't feel the need to eat all sorts of different types of stuffing where you're not going to feel well, or maybe you need to be gluten-free. I want to give you all of those different examples today, and I want to let you know how I do it too. So someone that tries to eat healthy on a daily basis, what do I do when it is the holiday? And I'll tell you a little bit about what I might cheat on and what I'm not going to cheat on. So really, it comes with all about pre-planning, knowing what you're going to do. Too many people just get into a situation or get to an event without a plan. And if you don't have a plan in place, it's like they say, without a plan, do plan to fail. And that's the issue, because it's so hard. Like when you're in the mix of things and people are offering you things and you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Here's the thing. If you go in, you know what you're going to do. You know what you might cheat on, what's worth it and what's not worth it. That's what I always say. Is this worth it? Do I really care about eating this thing? If it's a no, I'm just not going to do it just for the sake of doing it. So a lot of times when you get to like Thanksgiving, there'll kind of be appetizers out. Sometimes there's cheese and crackers. Sometimes there's veggies. Sometimes there's dip. Here's what I do. So for me, even more so than gluten, I stay away from dairy. Dairy for me never gives me cramping, never gives me bloating, never gives me diarrhea, any of these things like it does a lot of other people. So I guess in one way, say like, oh, well, I'm fortunate because of that. But in a lot of ways, I'm not, because dairy doesn't affect me because it's an IgG reaction I have. That's why this is the test that I do. If you haven't done a food sensitivity test for your IgG reactions, I would personally do that if I were you. Again, we offer it at the lowest possible price. You get a consultation with my holistic health coach and nutritionist when you get your results back, and you get my feedback. It's something that you can do right at home. You literally just poke your finger or a child's finger or anyone in your family, and you can have them send in their results. It's an amazing test. First of all, I knew the symptoms because I'm someone who will get a kind of congested nose or just kind of like stuffy nose, or I'll start to feel run down. But it doesn't happen for a day or two after I eat the dairy. And that's the issue. Like I could have ice cream and be fine. I might wake up the next morning with like a little stuffy nose, not a cold, just some congestion, and I can't really breathe through my nose that well. That's how I eventually figured out it was dairy, and that was my biggest trigger. So now, and again, my IgG test absolutely confirmed that. So I stay away from dairy, even more so than gluten. So what I do is when those cheese and crackers are out, even though I love cheese, really, really do enjoy it, if I'm going to have that, I do goat cheese, because goat cheese, I see these food sensitivity tests every day in my practice. Almost no one, only like 1 or 2 out of 10 people are actually sensitive to goat milk or goat cheese. And the reason is the protein molecules are so much smaller. Goats are born pretty much the same size as humans. They're not fed the corn and the soy and the antibiotics as much stuff as cows are. Big, big differences. So if I'm going to, I'll do that instead. However, I usually do this. And I recommend, so I'm giving you my recommendations as well, because I try to practice what I preach. I don't just say these things, I try to live them. And again, I'm not perfect, and I'm not asking you to be perfect. All we can do is our best. That's it. And our best sometimes changes from day to day. So let's have better days than not. So what I do is this, is I go for the veggies, and if there's not going to be veggies, I bring them myself. Because why not? I can share them with everyone. I keep it simple. Cut up carrots and cut up celery. Really super simple. Could you do other things like snap peas? Like those are pretty fun. People like doing that. Sometimes broccoli. I just don't eat raw broccoli. It's pretty hard to break down. I mean, it's really hard to break down. So I do super simple things. Sometimes cut up peppers. Again, even if I'm not going to eat the cut up peppers because I don't, great for other people. They can enjoy them. So again, just keep in mind, like I'm probably the most sensitive person on earth. My allergies or my histamines will react to a lot of different things. Again, even though I'm completely cured, and I'm doing that in air quotes, of all of my allergies and I don't have those issues, I have to be careful, right? Because it kind of just sits there in the background saying like, don't do too much of it or you'll have histamine-based issues. So I don't. I respect my body. But cut up a bunch of nice veggies, and I bring a guacamole, which is essentially avocado, some tomatoes, some other nice things in that, maybe some cilantro, and then I also do a hummus dip or a white bean dip, and that's fantastic. So I'm going to snack on that. Other people are eating their cheese or they're eating their like sliced salami or whatever it might be, and I get to enjoy myself as well. And now a lot of people might say, just to start off, well, you're depriving yourself of all these things. You're depriving yourself of having fun and eating the cheese. Well, you know what? For how long? For like fun for what? 2.5 to 5 minutes of eating cheese? Like, how long does that fun last? For me, okay, it would last 5 minutes and I would be enjoying every bite. Okay, great. But what about for the next 48 hours? What about me running myself down? What about me wanting to have plenty of energy to play with my kids and to enjoy the holidays and then to, go back to work and do all these things? So that's not fun. So I'm not depriving myself at all. I'm actually giving myself more health, more enjoyment, more energy. And that's something that all of us just have to learn, as well. And that goes for our kids too. Like, you're not depriving your child by not giving them ice cream. That's not deprivation. Trust me. You're doing them a favor. You're making them have better ability to concentrate at school. You're giving them less chance of getting sick, not catching that common cold, all of those different things. Again, it's not deprivation. All right. A lot of tangents here today. So let's move on to the next part. The next part is this. Then we sit down to dinner. And then the dinner typically on, let's say Thanksgiving, it could be really healthy, really great. In my family, sometimes we kind of pick up the tradition of where my grandmother left off, which is we'll do a pasta course right before we do maybe our main meal. And for my family, we do gluten-free. So we're going to do gluten-free pasta. And we're going to use the Jovial brand or the Lundberg brand. And those are low arsenic forms of rice, and it's a brown rice type pasta. Again, I don't use the tomato sauce, but there's nothing wrong with that. You can do the tomato sauce, and usually one of my children at least likes tomato sauce. My wife likes tomato sauce. I typically just do an olive oil sauce, and I do some salt and pepper on top. I might put some herbs in there, and I really enjoy that. That's something that I just like, and again, it's really great for me. And I'm not going to go overboard on that. Then afterwards, we'll sit down to the main meal. Now think about this. On Thanksgiving, you have turkey. That can be perfectly healthy. Again, if you're vegan, you can have a vegan-based option. And I don't eat a lot of meat, very, very little, very, very little, if any. So, but again, that's my personal choice. It's what feels better for my body. I might tend to have a little bit more fish or stay more towards a vegan-based diet. But if I'm at Thanksgiving and there's already been a turkey prepared and I'm at someone else's house and I choose to do that, then that's what I choose to do on that day. So you can get a nice, healthy, clean protein if you're eating that. And then next up, you can have vegetables. That's a great thing about Thanksgiving. We typically we'll bring ourselves some either mashed sweet potato or some mashed parsnips. Those are absolutely delicious. It's absolutely fantastic. And we won't put a ton of butter or anything like that in them as well. And then because you can put cinnamon, you can put all these great things. You could use maple syrup if you want it for a little sweetener. We're going to do our rainbow carrots. So we basically cut up rainbow carrots and we bake those. And we also might do some cut up parsnips with that too. Really great root vegetables. So you can make a lot of healthy veggies to go along with it too. Now, I'm going to tell you this, that if your favorite dish in the world is, let's just say, rice stuffing or bread stuffing, and it's the holiday and you want that to be your cheat, then have a little bit of that. You don't have to have a plate full, but have a little bit. You can enjoy yourself on that holiday and then get right back into it the next day. However, if you are celiac or you're gluten-free or you're trying to stick with your first 21 days, like I have a lot of the people that I work with right now who I care for my practice listening to the podcast, if you're on your first 20 days and you're still trying to stick with the plan, and that's admirable, and you absolutely should. So what you can do is you're just going to load up on all these great veggies. I mean, there's just so many that you can, again, yams, Japanese yams, sweet potatoes, yuca, rainbow potatoes, rainbow carrots. You can have parsnips. You can have beets, sliced beets with basil and olive oil. I mean, you can have so many great things. Think of the options. And again, you can make these things, make enough for everyone. Everyone would be excited that you brought stuff to Thanksgiving and that you're sharing. And then we have dessert afterwards, right? So what do we do about dessert? Well, dessert can be a real challenge. But what you could do, and again, if you're trying to stick tight, wait an hour, at least an hour till after your meal. You can make your own fruit-based sorbet. You can use what they call nice cream and actually take frozen bananas and you can push them through a juicer, or you can use a Vitamix and blend it up and make your own like acai bowl or smoothie bowl, freeze it, turn it into your own little ice cream. That can be great. You could just do fresh berries. Like that's absolutely fantastic as well. And that could be your dessert. What else could you do? You could bake a healthier version of a gluten-free like pumpkin muffin. The recipe that I give everyone, and I'm sure you've seen it on my Instagram account. If you haven't, just go to instagram.com/Stephen Cabral. The same one that we use for pancakes and waffles, that's absolutely fantastic. You can add pumpkin instead of the fruit, and you can make pumpkin pancakes, you can make pumpkin muffins, and these are all absolutely fantastic. That would be a great little treat for your whole family and for yourself too, trying to stay on the healthier side. Or, like I said, if it is the holidays, eat your appetizers well, eat your dinner healthily, and then as you move to dessert, maybe that's your cheat, right? Like that's typically what I do. So if you want to know honestly what I do, I eat healthily all through the meal. I eat just, really cleanly, and then I say, you know what? It's time for dessert. When do I ever have pumpkin pie or a pumpkin square that my mother makes? My mother's been making these for the past 30 years. That's typically what I do. So I wait at least an hour till after my meal to start moving some of this food through so it's not poor food combining. And I enjoy that. And I'm sitting around with family. We're all having fun. My kids don't usually eat this type of stuff as well. We might give them some as well. That's how I try to keep my life in balance. I found it to work really well for myself. You might be someone who just knows that even if you have a little bite of that pumpkin pie or like that pumpkin square or whatever it might be, that you might just binge and you might just have 3 or 4 or 8 of those. I kind of used to be like that myself. So if that is you, then now just isn't the right time. This holiday season might not be the right time to do that. Just stay clean. You can absolutely do it. And I'm telling you, you're going to feel so much better that next day. You really will. You're not going to have that holiday hangover where you have the brain fog, the low energy. You might start to get sick. Remember, this is how people start to get the flu as well. If you have a healthy immune system, you're going to fight that off. But if your immune system's weak from eating all these poor foods and too much processed sugar, you are susceptible. You are more likely to get sick during this holiday season. Keep your energy levels high. Keep yourself eating clean. Don't cheat unless you really love that food, and you say to yourself, you know what, this is a one-time-a-year thing. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm not going to overeat. I'm not going to eat too much of it. So hopefully that helped today. That is how I do the holiday season. That's how I help my clients, and I give them different levels and different things that they could do. So hopefully it does work for you, and please feel free to pass this episode along to anyone else it could help. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy your Thanksgiving. I will be back tomorrow, so do tune in for our Training Thursday, where I'm going to give some nice exercises and things that you can do to also boost your metabolism before you have that big Thanksgiving Day meal. So tune in tomorrow. Talk to you soon. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.